All right, everyone. So we'll go ahead and get it started here. As mentioned, John is our special guest. John, I'm gonna let you kind of introduce yourself real quick and just give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks so much again for having me. And, a little bit about me. I've been investing in real estate since 2008, I believe. I think that puts me in 17 years of this roundabouts self-induced torture that you kind of fall in love with. There's never a dull day, and there's always something new to learn. But it's been an amazing journey. And over those 17 years, my main focus has really been rental property investing and helping not only myself and my family create retirements and financial security and legacy wealth, but also supporting other investors. I think, if you look at myself and my team members, Nate and Danica and Melissa, I think we've sold and helped investors buy somewhere in the ballpark of like 8 or 9 thousand rental properties. So it's been amazing to see all these investors just jump on this investing train. And, you know, especially, when you first start investing, it's a slow road, right? You're like, oh, you're getting your monthly cash flow check and nothing looks super exciting. And you're just like, oh, did I make the right decision? And then like when 2000 or 19, 2020, 2021, like we started to go through COVID and we started to see this surge in real estate. It was so cool to see all my investors I've been working with for years, like calling me, be like, John, this rental property portfolio that we just bought like a couple years ago, it's doubled in value, right? And to hear about their retirement accounts doubling, or they put 20% down and now they had an extra 100 grand in equity. Like it was just awesome proof to the pudding, and that's just the cycle of it at the end of the day. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to for the last 17 years.
Nice, John. Damn. So it's definitely a lot of experience in the real estate space. So, with that said, everyone, he is going to be talking about real estate. So, today you're going to be learning a lot from an industry expert on how to do real estate within your self directed retirement account. John has been doing this for many years. And Kelsey has actually worked with him for many, many years, even prior to Horizon Trust, helping individuals unlock their retirement and use their retirement for real estate investing. As you know, in self-directing, you have to take a passive role. You can't actively be working on the properties or anything like that. So it is a little bit more difficult, especially if you're someone like John who works in the real estate space. It's so easy for you to be active in something like that. But in self-directing, you do have to be a little bit passive. So with that, John is going to go over some key points on how to do take that passive aspect in the real estate space. And before we do get started, I will go through our disclaimer as always, because Horizon Trust Company is a passive custodian and as such only performs the duties of a custodian. Horizon Trust Company does not provide advice, sell investments, nor offer any tax or legal advice. So that with that being said, we'll kind of go ahead and actually get started with John. John, you can take it away. I know you have a couple points that you want to go through. So please feel free to, you know, let's get through it. And if any questions pop up, feel free to drop them into our chat or into the Q&A, and we'll be sure to get through those questions as best as we can.
Absolutely, guys, and either write your questions down or drop them in the chat and just be prepped because I will definitely get to those questions for you. I put together a little bit of presentation just to give you guys some visuals about the stuff we can talk about because with retirement account investing, as Alex was talking about, is there's these nuances that we need to pay attention to, that we need to understand so that, we're not violating any IRS laws with our retirement account investing. So I'm going to pull that up. Let me get this rocking and rolling. Now, guys, the screen might look a little funky quickly here, but I promise I will get that organized for us. Just give me 1 second. Oh, nope, it actually turned out perfect. Can you guys just drop in the comments, give me a thumbs up or an okay that you can see my screen?
Looks
I
good,
just want to
John.
make sure we're good there.
We're seeing your handsome smile there, cross arms and everything.
Appreciate it, guys. Awesome. So today we're going to talk about rentals and your retirements. As we talked about, we've helped investors, find, purchase, invest in a lot of rental properties over the last, probably 13 years that I've been helping investors buy rentals. And um, when we think about those purchases, right, I think for most investors, the first thought in their mind is like conventional financing. I need to have 20% down. I need to go buy that property. And that's how they get started with rental investing. Whereas if we go back and we look at all of the investors that we've helped over the last 13, 14 years, about 50% of them, actually, it's just over 50% of them, use self-directed retirement accounts to buy those rental properties, which is pretty astounding. Now, everyone on this call has worked with Horizon Trust. You've set up a self-directed retirement account. You know the benefits of self-directing and controlling and managing and owning your own financial future. So we don't need to speak to why there are benefits to setting up your self-directed account. What we are going to go over, guys, is we're going to talk about a few major topics. So first and foremost, rental investing with your self-directed IRA. What are some strategies in order to do that? What are the benefits in investing through your retirement account into rental properties? We're going to go over this super cool strategy that we use for probably 90% of our retirement account investors called the compounding cash flow strategy. We're going to show you how we build out those plans for our investors. Actually, we just helped an investor pick up 9 rental properties like last month, I believe it was. I'm going to show you his investment plan that we built for him. It's going to be super awesome. And then we're going to talk about what is turnkey investing and how do we actually help you implement the strategy and plan that we put together. So I already talked a little bit about myself. I don't need to recover it for you guys. If you have any questions about me, just drop them in the chat. I am more than happy to answer all of them. I'm an open book. So let's talk about our investment buckets. Now, obviously, we're here to talk about retirement accounts, but I want to make a delineation, right? And the reason why I call these investment buckets, guys, is we have to keep our money in those individual buckets. Those buckets can't spill over into one another. If they do start spilling into one another, then we're in a violation of the IRS. We're going to seek some penalties, right? So how do we invest? Well, all of our retirement account stays with our retirement account. We invest through our retirement account. All of our personal assets stay with our personal name and we invest through our personal name, right? Meaning, let's say we have a property that we're going to buy for 100 grand. We don't want to take 80 grand from our retirement account and 20 grand from our personal name to buy that property. It all has to come from one or the other, just to keep things clean and make life easy. So when we think about investing with personal funds, right, we think about savings, checking, property equity, or like a home equity line of credit, as well as like stock accounts, crypto, or other type of investments that are held in your personal name. When you guys went to set up a Horizon account, likely you used a previous employer 401k, IRA, TSP, or 403b in order to roll that money from this account that was with an old employer into this new account that you now have control over. All right. So we're going to talk about our retirement bucket today. We've taken these older retirement accounts, we move them into an area that we can utilize for our benefit. All right. So now that our money's in this self-directed account, which you guys have already done, how can we buy rental properties, guys? What are our options here? Well, there's the age-old option that we all know. Nothing is new here, and that's just by buying properties cash. We can just stroke a check for the house, own it outright, allow the cash flow to be reinvested into our retirement account, as well as just allowing that appreciation to occur with the property over time. All right. One option that a lot of investors don't know about or don't realize is you are allowed to finance properties inside of your retirement account. However, you have to use a very specific type of financing, guys, and that's something called non-recourse financing. You might be saying, John, what the heck is non-recourse financing? So the word non-recourse is the key. All right. I want you guys to picture and imagine the home that you bought to live in. All right. And you went to the bank, you went to Chase or Bank of America, or used a local broker to buy that home. All right. And you got a 30-year fixed mortgage on that property. That loan that you received is what is called a recourse loan, meaning that if you stop making the mortgage payments, not only can the bank come and foreclose and take the property, but they can also come back to you for any deficiencies or money that they lost. And they can screw up your credit. They can place liens against you for the future. There's recourse against you as an individual. All right. Non-recourse, and this is something the IRS requires to happen, is you're allowed to use financing inside of your retirement account, but that financing cannot be tied to you in any way, shape, or form as an individual. So, for example, if I stop making a payment on a property that was financed with non recourse, the bank can't come after my credit. They can't come after me for deficiencies. They can't place any liens on me. All they can do is take the property and walk away with that asset. All right, guys. So, non recourse financing is probably something that we are going to see grow, especially as property prices increase. And depending on where you are in this stage of, retirement, right? Are we 30 years old and investing, 40 years old investing, or are we 63 years old and investing, right? That's really going to depend on what type of strategy we use and how much of it. Okay. With non-recourse financing, guys, there is a huge amount of power to be able to leverage inside of our retirement account, especially if we're pretty far away from needing to take any types of distributions or able to take any types of distributions from our retirement account. Okay. And one way that we can turn leverage inside of our retirement account and turn that volume the whole way up to 11 is using something we call the compounding cash flow strategy. And we're going to jump into that in 1 second, but I want to talk about some of the investments with, or some of the benefits with investing in real estate through your retirement account. Okay. So, guys, there is no capital gains tax, right? So, outside of a retirement account, we sell a property, we make a profit, we are subject to capital gains, or we have to do a 1031 exchange in order to get rid of those capital gains tax. If we buy a house and sell it 20 years later inside of our retirement account, we make, $500,000 on that sale, no capital gains tax, no 1031 exchange needed. So it's a massive benefit, especially for any type of inheritance and as you're passing properties and wealth on to the next generation. All right. All of the cash flow is either tax-free or tax-deferred, depending on how you set up your account. Do you have a traditional or a Roth account? All the appreciation is tax-free or tax-deferred. That goes back to the no capital gains rule. And some people see this as a detriment. I personally love to see it as a benefit. And that means everything that has to be done through our retirement account has to be an arm's length transaction, right? Meaning, we can't go and do repairs on our own house. We can't property manage our own property. We can't really have any say in what happens to this investment, which is great because that means this has to be hands off and turnkey. This has to be a true passive income investment. And that makes us need to think outside the box. It needs to make us get strategic in our planning. And it actually provides us with true passive income instead of stuff that we like to call passive income, but it really isn't because you're collecting checks every month or you're unclogging toilets on a Saturday or you're taking a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning because the fire alarm's going off. All right. So it has to be an arm's length transaction, guys, which I think is a huge benefit. All right. And I'm also seeing a lot of questions come in. Perfect. Guys, you guys are paying attention to that, keeping some of those questions for later, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're
All right.
following along here. So yeah, most of these questions are really good, and we'll be able to answer a lot of them here towards the end. One of the quick questions that we do always get, and not really particular to the presentation, is will this session be recorded? Yes, sessions are always recorded, and then we do have them available on Greg's YouTube channel. They will be available this afternoon. So for anyone that is looking to watch this as a replay, or maybe if you can't make it through the whole thing, be sure to stick around because John's going to be providing plenty of great insights for this. But if you can't make it, replay will be available this afternoon around 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Greg's YouTube channel. So you can go to YouTube and search Greg Herlean. Our team can also drop that link into the chat. So for anyone who does need it, you'll be able to click right there. But yes, everything that John is talking about is able to be done within a self-directed vehicle. One of the questions that was asking was, Um, does this apply to solo K, traditional, or Roth IRAs? Yes,
Mhm.
self-directing allows you to diversify into these real estate assets. So you don't need to have a specialized type of account, so long as it's a
Yep.
self-directed account.
Absolutely, guys. So solo 401ks, self-directed IRAs, all qualify for this. That's why I've just kind of been saying like self-directed accounts, so that whether you have a IRA or a solo K, you have, it all falls under that assumption. So great. Thank you for letting me know. Awesome stuff, guys. So let's start planning and strategizing, right? Because I know all of you guys are sitting here like, John, this is all great information, but what does it look like when I invest, right? How much money do I make? What's my ROI? What's my potential? How does this benefit me? I always like to say WIIFM, John. What's in it for me? All right. So let's talk through some strategy. And I mentioned it just a few minutes ago. One strategy that we like to use a lot with our investors is what we call the compounding cash flow strategy. And knowing that most investments that occur inside of a self directed retirement account are longer term, we get to use time on our side. All right. And we get to use the fact that we really can't access the cash flow that's coming from those investments while it's in a self directed retirement account until we obviously hit a certain age. All right. So let's use that to our advantage. And the way that we can do that is through the compounding cash flow strategy. And I want you to picture and imagine that we're buying properties using that non recourse financing option. Okay. So how does the compounding cash flow strategy work? All right. So I want you guys to picture and imagine that we start buying properties inside of our retirement account using non-recourse financing. All right. And these are 30-year fixed loans. All right. But we're thinking to ourselves, we're like, shit, we want to retire long before 30 years. And man, I want way more cash flow than what I'm getting right now with just the two, three, $400 a month and net income. Like, how can I get these homes paid off? So in 10 or 12 or 15 years or 20 years, when I can actually access that money, I got a boatload of free and clear properties, and I have even more cash flow that I can use as retirement income for myself. All right. That was the thought process behind creating this model. All right. So picture and imagine we bought one property with a 30-year fixed non recourse loan. All right. And we're thinking to ourselves, how can I get this home paid off as quickly as possible? And after our taxes, insurance, property management, all of our fixed costs are paid, we're getting about $300 a month in cash flow. And we just drive that $300 a month into that 30-year fixed mortgage because we're not going to use it, right? We can't touch that money and pay our cell phone bill with it. So it either sits in our retirement account or we put it to work. So in this scenario, we're putting it to work by paying off the mortgage on the property. Now, in this scenario, right, we just took a 30-year mortgage and turned it into a 15 to 17-year mortgage, right? So realistically, we've just cut our timeline in half. Like we're doing great all the way, right? But we want to own more than one property, right? And what happens if we want to retire sooner than 15 or 17 years, or we need access to that cash flow sooner than 15 to 17 years? Well, if we buy two properties and we follow this exact same model, it doesn't give us a head, right? All of these properties start to get paid off in the exact same timeline. So we started thinking to ourselves, man, there's got to be a solution to this math problem. Now, I did not go to school for calculus. There are a lot smarter people out there than me. Um, Not that I agree with everything that he says. Actually, I agree with very few things that he says, but Dave Ramsey does have some good ideas every now and then. All right. And one of his ideas was obviously the snowball cash flowing effect for credit cards, right? We said, man, what if we manipulated that and threw it into real estate and mortgages? How would that play out? So what we did was he said, well, if we took the $300 from one property and we added it to the $300 to the next property and we threw all of those $600 at one of those properties, what would happen then? Oh man, that house gets paid off in 8 to 9 years. Okay, so now we're starting to see a pretty significant adjustment and change in the timeline that we get these properties paid off. Okay, now guys, here's the secret sauce. If you've toned me out for this whole presentation, I want you to tune back in right now. All right. Because this is the secret sauce of the whole thing. All of our excess monthly cash flow gets thrown at the property with the lowest mortgage balance. I don't care about interest rate. I don't care about anything but mortgage balance. All of our existing cash flow that is left over at the end of the month gets thrown at the property with the lowest mortgage balance. All right. Vipol, I said you're not understanding the $300. So let's picture and imagine this is a rental property. All right. There's a resident in the home that's paying us $1,000 a month. Our principal and interest, taxes and insurance and property management costs every month is $700. All right. That means that $1,000, which is gross rent, minus all of our fixed costs from that rental property, leaves us with an extra $300 a month in cash flow. Okay, just like we would with any other rental investment, we should, if you're doing it right, have cash flow at the end of the month. And in this example, I'm just using $300 as that cash flow every month to keep math easy. All right, cool. So what we've done here, guys, is we've added all of our cash flow together and we've assessed it and pushed it towards the home with the lowest mortgage balance. All right. Now, eventually, home number one gets paid off. What do we not have, guys, in the chat? What do we not have any longer once that home is paid off? What do we no longer have to pay every month now that home's free and clear? Exactly, Julie. A payment. We don't have a mortgage payment anymore. So our cash flow goes from $300 a month up to $700 a month. And the other property that's just been chugging along, right? We're still getting $300 a month from that house. Now, what happens in this situation is we have $1,000 to throw at property number two every single month, increasing that payoff to 6 to 7 years. All right. Now, just on two houses, we've decreased the individual payoff timeline for both of those homes, right? You might say, John, we only saved a year or two. Like, what the hell does that matter? Well, when we extrapolate this across 5, 8, 10 properties, we start to see a pretty significant change in payoff timeline. So let's check this out. So this is the example with two. All right. Two properties are great. I always like to let everyone know you should buy a property per kid. All right. So if you got 4 kids, we're going to have to buy four properties, right? If we got 10 kids, man, you guys got some work to do. All right. So
hey, I
this
like
is
that,
yeah.
John. That's I don't have any kids, but I still like the strategy. I'll go with
Now,
the nephews.
and the reason why I always say that is because, owning rental real estate is a great way to pay for college, guys. And if you expect your kids to retire you and become doctors, then you need to buy 2 properties per kid because you got to pay for medical school. All right. So let's picture and imagine, guys, that we wound up with 10 rental properties, right? And these are monopoly houses, right? Every property is going to have varying cash flow, right? But I don't like to do math in the morning. So we're sticking with $300. Okay. So let's picture and imagine that all 10 of these properties give us $3,000 a month. All right. And we just follow this cycle. We find the house with the lowest mortgage payment, which in this case is house number one. And we just toss that $3,000 every single month at this property. That 30-year fixed mortgage gets paid off in 5 to 7 years. All right. So what happens? Well, our cash flow increases. Why does our cash flow increase? Well, we've paid the mortgage off, guys. We've gone from $300 a month cash flow to $700 a month cash flow with that property. All right. And our years to having all of these properties free and clear decreases because of the increased cash flow we can now throw at the next property. So let's picture and imagine that we've paid off property number one. So our cash flow has gone from $3,000 a month to $3,400. Okay. Now we're throwing that $3,400 at the next property with the lowest balance. Boom. Remember, property number one was paid off in 5 to 7 years. Property number two is paid off in 4 to 6, right? And we just follow this. Cash flow increases because now property number two is paid off, and our time to free and clear is decreased. And this just extrapolates. Now we're up to $3,800 a month cash flow. Now we're paying the next 30-year mortgage off in 2 to 5 years. And if guys, if you haven't done the math, right, we've paid off 3 homes in about 12 to 13 years, right? And we're continuing to see this consistency. Once we hit like $4,000 to $5,000 a month, we're paying homes off in 1 to 2 years. Picture and imagine that, guys, right? Every time you buy a 30-year fixed mortgage home, you know that just strictly from the cash flow itself, that home is going to be paid off in 1 to 2 years. All right. So we've had the ability to buy properties inside of our retirement account, reduce the payoff timeline to basically we can pay every single property off that we ever buy inside of our retirement account in just a couple of years, right? Which allows us to know that when we get to retirement age or whatever age we decide to start taking distributions, that not only are we going to have a boatload of free and clear assets, but we're going to have the cash flow that we need in order to support our retirement. Okay. Now, guys, this all looks great on a presentation where, we're just using monopoly houses. Okay. That's all lovely and grand. But what does this look like in real life? All right. So here's what we do in real life, guys. This is how we build out an actual investment plan and strategy for our investors. All right. As you can see, these properties are set to be closed on in a couple months, right? So May 1st? So what we're looking at here, guys, is this is someone that came to us with a retirement account. And, they were like, John and my team, they were like, build me out a strategy and show me what it looks like on how I can maximize the properties inside of that account. So let's walk through this. If you see here, there are 9 total investments, 1 through 9. Okay. And what you can see is 8 of them are financed, right? There's a mortgage balance on 8 of these properties, but there's one that's free and clear. And the reason why there's one that's free and clear, guys, because he wanted to kickstart that cash flow payoff. He was like, I want to really drive home how quickly I can get these homes paid off. All right. And what this does is it lays out, these are all the properties he purchased. These are the purchase price of the home. Here's the initial investment on each property, the mortgage balance, the interest rate, the 30-year fixed term, the monthly principal and interest payment, the net cash flow they're going to receive from every property, and his return on investment from each one of these homes. All right. You might say, great, John, you filled in some blanks. So where's the actual math? Here's the math, guys. So check this out. Current cash flow with the free and clear property and the other 8 leverage properties is right here, $5,619 a month. As it stands today, the day he buys his portfolio, he's getting a 10.91% cash on cash return. That doesn't include, write-offs. That doesn't include appreciation. That doesn't include tenant mortgage pay down. That's just his cash on cash return. That's his money performing for him today, right? Once the properties are free and clear, he's going to be getting about $9,500 a month in cash flow. Now, that doesn't take into consideration any rent increases or anything whatsoever. That's just if they were free and clear tomorrow, he would get $9,500. He'll probably be closer to $11,000, $12,000 once the properties are free and clear. And when they are free and clear, his return goes from a almost 11% to an almost 19% return. Okay. And here's the payout or the payoff schedule, guys, right? Property number 1. Can anyone see how quickly he's paying off property number 1?
Under a year, 11 months.
11 months. How is are we kidding us? Right now, guys, this is not in total. So first 11 months, property number 1 is paid off. In 10 additional months, property number 2 is paid off. In 9 additional months, property number 3 is paid off. In 8 additional month, property number, how insane is that? Right? In 5 years, guys, 5 years, 7 months, 9 properties paid off. This cash flow is realized in 7 years, or not 7 years, 5 years and 7 months. This cash flow is realized. We took 8 leverage properties and one free and clear property, got them all free and clear, got them to over $10,000 a month, likely in those 5 to 7 years because of rent increases to cash flow. That's how we build it out. That's how we plan it. And that's the power of that return, right? Now, remember, guys, all these properties are insured. All these properties are under professional management, right? So when it comes to your return versus your risk, right, it's almost the perfect storm when it comes to investing. So that's how we plan and prepare for like retirement account investing. And for some of us on this call, right, this is probably more retirement planning than we might have ever done in 20 or 30 years. Who here put a me inside the chat if you worked or if you have a W-2 job that has a 401k? Put a me inside the chat if you have a W-2 job with a 401k right now.
That's us right here at Horizon Trust. We have
Yeah,
we have that.
absolutely. Now, I'm not hating on anybody. You guys might love your job and the company you work for, which is totally great. I love that for you. All right. But I can promise you that this is what retirement planning look like, right? Number one, 401ks were not designed as long-term retirement uh, tools, right? 401ks were designed to help high paid executives shield their bonuses from taxation. And then when companies realized that pensions in the 70s weren't going to last and it was going to bankrupt the shit out of every company in the world, they said, we need to be able to offer a retirement account. What do we use? And someone was like, well, we got these 401ks. How's that sound? And they were like, sure, that's fine. Great. Awesome. Let's use those. That's how that decision was made. And now most W-2 employees that have 401ks, their retirement planning is you get a stack of investment materials about that big when you walk in on your 90th day of employment, because that's when you can qualify for your 401k. You sit down at Human Resources or whoever that plan manager is, and they slide a piece of paper across the desk. And there's 3 boxes. There's low risk, medium risk, and high risk. And based on your age, you check one of those boxes and they go, great work. You just planned for retirement. And you walk out of the office and you start contributing to your 401k and you pray to God you're getting a 6% match, right? That's how it works. Like, I wish I was bullshitting you, but I am not, right? And as much as companies want to help and support you in that, it doesn't make financial sense for them to do that. So that's why they don't. So everyone on this call, on this webinar, made the brilliant idea. It said, well, now that I'm not using that retirement anymore, I want to get that out of my company's hand and I want to own it. I want to take responsibility for it. I want to invest it the way I want to invest it. And that's why the second time around, we're going to do more planning like we are here. Okay. So guys, that's how we plan it out. I know you guys are probably wondering, like, what the hell kind of properties are these? Where can you buy a house for 150 grand or whatever, especially if you live in California? Like, that doesn't even get you a paved driveway in Southern California, right? Let alone a house, right? So this is what they look like, guys, just to give you an idea. These are, I think this is 1 or 2 of the markets. I don't even remember what examples I put in here. It's a Kansas City, Missouri property. 159 grand. Everything's fully renovated. It's turnkey. Again, you guys have to understand we can't do a whole lot of work on these things because it's in our retirement accounts. They have to come to you done and ready to rock and roll, right? Here's another one, Birmingham, Alabama, guys. We have multiple markets that we invest in, and we can get into that a little bit later here after during the Q&A, right? But just want to give you some examples of what these properties might look like. All right. So let's talk through what is turnkey investing, right? Because, we went from concept to actualization through the planning process. Now you're probably wondering, well, where do I find these houses? What are these things? What's turnkey rental investing? I've never heard of this. Sounds like witchcraft. How does this work? So what is turnkey rental investing, guys? This is a word that gets used and abused and tossed around and thrown in the gutter so many times that I don't even like using turnkey rental investing anymore, but it's the only thing I can come up with that really describes what we do. So I'm going to share with you what real turnkey investing looks like. And then, you can make a decision if that's what you've heard of in the past. So turnkey rental investing is done for you rental investing, right? That means everything's handled for you. The property is acquired, it is fully renovated, It is placed under professional management. It is tenanted. And then the day you buy it, it is cash flowing with a fully qualified tenant and experienced property management team in place. Like done for you. You don't have to do any of that junk. All right. Um, it's focused in investor friendly states that have great price to rent ratios that have stable economies. All right. As I said before, it's fully renovated, it's professionally managed, it's rented, and cash flowing from day one. That is turnkey rental investing. The key to all of this, guys, if I had to have an asterisk and I had to put something like, what is the secret sauce or the formula to all of this? It's what's called a straight line of accountability or vertical integration, guys. Whether you talk to me and my team, whether you go out to do this on your own, whatever the strategy is that you decide to employ, I encourage you, for the life of me, it's coming from someone that's been doing this for 13 or 14 years. Always, always, always look for and work only with fully straight line accountability or fully vertically integrated teams. So what does that mean? That means one team does everything. They find the house, they buy the house, they renovate the house, they tenant the house, and they manage the house. There's no outsourcing of any of those options. The reason why is if a different team buys and renovates the house versus manages the house, that means the person buying and renovating the house, they're not really so concerned on where they're buying it. They're really not so concerned on how good the renovation is, because guess what? They don't have to deal with it, right? That's being dealt with by the property management team that they don't have a relationship with, they don't have to answer to, that money doesn't come out of their pocket, right? But if a team controls and manages each aspect of the process, the back end is more concerned about what the front end is doing. So they want to make sure that the properties are in great areas with, the potential for great residents with awesome renovations done. So they don't have to take 1,000,001 phone calls while managing the property. And whoever the investor is that bought that home will come back and buy more, because that's the strategy. All right. So, guys, that's one kind of golden nugget that if you go out and go after this kind of avenue, that you really, really stick to and fall. All right. Vipul, investor-friendly states. Well, let's just take a second and think about that. Would you rather own a rental property in California and New York, or Tennessee or Texas, right? Which ones do you think have better laws in favor of the landlord or the investor that owns that property? All right. Obviously, Texas or Tennessee, right? California and New York are not investor friendly states. So, why would we invest in a state that hinders us when we need to make an adjustment to a rental property, right? That doesn't make sense. Plus, pricing in New York and California is brutal. All right. So, what do we do, guys? How do we kind of fall into the support role for you guys? Well, number one, obviously, we build out those plans that we talked about. All right. There's actually 4 of us on the team now. We just brought on a new team member. Her name's Melissa, the original, fearsome 3. I always like to say this is the rose stuck between 2 thorns here with Danica. So there's myself, there's Danica, there's Nate. We run and operate Turnkey Property Pros. And what our job is to build out and help you invest and strategize, just like I showed you guys earlier, right? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your timeline in trying to accomplish it? How much cash flow do you need? What major life events do we need to prepare for? What type of legacy are you looking to leave for your children? We do all of that planning with you. And you're probably thinking, this is going to cost an arm and a leg. And you're wrong. I don't say that very often, but it's 100% free. You're like, John, well, then how do you make your money? Well, we make your money if you invest in a rental property, right? So we want to be really, 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 really good at our job. So you buy a rental property and we ain't all just wasting our time. All right. And our strategy is to perform well for you so you can buy it back and buy 150 more, right? Like just economies of scale. All right. So everything we do is 100% free for you guys, all the coaching and strategy planning. The process normally likes this. We usually do initial one-on-one call, figure out where you're at, figure out what you're trying to accomplish, and if we can even help you with that. If we feel like we can help you with that, then we usually do 2 or 3 more implementation calls where we really start to lay out that entire plan that I showed you guys earlier. And we start to answer questions. We look at example properties. We figure out what market you want to invest in, what market fits your investing needs the best. We just kind of go deep, deep, deep dive. All right. And then once that strategy is built out, based on that strategy, we will have example properties, right? Maybe like 3 example properties from Kansas City and 2 example properties from Memphis, Tennessee, or whatever, right? I'm just making this stuff up. And then what we'll do is we'll go out, we'll find real properties that match exactly to those example properties and just pull out the example properties and plug in the real properties. All right. We'll hand pick and find those properties for you guys. You always have the last say. And then we have created curated referrals, meaning lenders, title companies, closing attorneys. And the reason why we create these guys is one, it provides discounts to you, right? We're high volume, right? We help investors buy a lot of properties, lenders, attorneys, title companies that like working with us. So they provide you guys discounted pricing for those options. And then at the end of the day, the whole goal is to get you cash flow, right? And what I always like to say, whether it's to my one-on-one coaching student or any groups like this, is prior preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance. So let's get planning, guys. Let's start to build out a financial plan that looks like this for you. So you guys can know how real estate, whether you decide to buy it or not, at least you're going to have the opportunity to know if I go and I buy rental properties, this is what my retirement account could look like in 5 years, right? Or 7 years, or whatever that number ultimately looks like for you guys. All right. So that's rentals and your retirement account, guys. Hopefully that was eye-opening. I've seen a boatload of information getting thrown into the chat. So I think you guys are pretty fired up about this as I am. I will hand it back to you guys. If you picked out any questions you want me to answer, guys, I'm happy to do it, but it's been an honor and a pleasure. Let's dive into these questions and see where I can support.
John, that presentation was absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much for that. I will be reaching out right after this webinar
All right, let's
and
do it,
getting
man.
started myself. But yeah, no, in seriousness, that was amazing. Thank you so much for all that information. We know that there's a lot of people that were in the chat, and everyone give John a quick shout out in the chat. Drop some fire emojis, some thank yous, some hell yeah. John did fantastic on that presentation, jumped on here with us early this morning. But yeah, we definitely got a lot of questions going both in the chat and in the Q&A. So we want to try and get through as many as we can here before we're run out of time. But if we're not able to get any of your questions, John, how can these people actually get in contact with you if they do want to learn more about this process and connect with your team?
Absolutely, guys. Is it okay if I drop it in the chat? And then you
Yeah,
can, if you
absolutely.
guys want to send out an email as well too. So
Yeah,
guys, I'm going to
no,
drop
feel
in
free
the
to drop it in the
chat
chat. Just make sure your settings are set to everyone and not just to
the
us and the
hosts and
host.
panelists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, I'm going to
Yeah.
drop a calendar link. This calendar link goes to me, Nate, and Danica. So you guys will be able to schedule calls with one or all of us. A few notes, super quick, is Nate did just bring home twins, so his calendar's a little spotty, right? So if for some reason you're not seeing a whole lot, I think there's like 15 or 20 times open tomorrow, so there shouldn't be any issue. But just as a heads up, guys, like just bear with us. We lost a man's down taking care of his new twins, so we're doing the best we can.
Twins, so he's got to add 2 more properties to his
He
portfolio.
does. He does.
Four.
The
He's
good
in
news
California,
is
so
is
He's in California,
is
so 4. Yeah.
yeah. The good news is Nate's way ahead of the game. So he planned ahead.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Well, one of the questions that we have, and this is probably a big one for a lot of people in the self-directed space, is there a minimum amount that is required to get started?
Absolutely. So if you want to use like non-recourse financing and you want to jump into your first property, think about like 70,000, right? Like that should be your minimum. And the reason why it's so high is because with non-recourse financing, the bank requires a higher down payment. The reason why you only have to put 20% down when you personally guarantee a property is because you personally guarantee that property, right? With non-recourse, the bank can't come after you. So what they want to see is they want to see initial built-in equity into that property, right? So they're normally going to ask for anywhere between 30 to 45% down initially. So 70 grand's your thought process. That's your down payment.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, so okay, I don't have 70 grand lying around. How can I still make this process happen? Can I partner up with someone to pool that 70 grand and get started?
Absolutely. So you guys can partner your retirement accounts together to make a purchase. Normally, encourage you guys to do it 50-50 just to make distributions way easier. So somebody puts up 35, somebody else puts up 35, and then whatever payments left at the end of the month in terms of cash flow, that just goes 50-50 to either account. So you can partner up for sure.
Perfect. And then let's see. One of the next questions that was asked, and Kelsey, this one will probably be a little bit more for you. How does this factor with? Oh, nope, that's the wrong question. There it is. Is this only in a Roth, or can a traditional IRA also participate in this due to the taxes?
Any self-directed account can. It just depends whether or not you're going to be tax deferred or tax free at the end of it all. So, something to keep in mind if you're looking to do it in your Roth accounts or if you're looking to convert any of your pre-tax funds to post-tax funds, there is, if you're past 59 and a half, there is still that 5-year hold in addition to being 59 and a half. So, if you're doing
Mhm.
that later in life, that's something to consider.
Yeah. But if you are earning less in your later years, then that might not be a scenario. So if you're only collecting Social Security and it's not that much, you might be okay doing this inside of a tax deferred account and paying those taxes on the back end because
Yeah.
you're not earning as
Yeah,
much.
your income's
And
basically zero.
just as a side note, right, guys, is like, for example, I did this for my father-in-law with his retirement accounts. He had a traditional 401k, which we self-directed, both my father and mother-in-law, and invested that into real estate. And yeah, he takes monthly distributions from that. He does pay taxes, but his income tax bracket is lower at the point, so he's not taxed as heavily on that income. But at the end of the day, I always like to say, I'm like, I like paying high taxes. The reason why I like paying high taxes, at least in America, is because that means I'm making a lot of money. So, that's just the opportunity that you're left with. So deal with it and enjoy it because it's a privilege more than anything else. And I see Stacy. Stacy, you keep asking the question, distribution. So rent gets paid monthly, so distributions are sent to you monthly. So that's how property management will pay you out.
Yeah. And if you're doing that inside of a self-directed account, that money would go back into your self-directed
Correct.
account. If you want to have a little bit more control and flexibility on that, you can open up a checkbook LLC and then
Yep.
have the money go into that checkbook LLC. It'll allow you a little bit more control to move that money from one property to the next property. So that way, this snowball method that John talked about is a little bit more within your control rather than having us do it. But
Yeah.
regardless of what you'd want to do inside of a self-directed account, we're able to facilitate that easily for you. As you know, our pricing is all inclusive. So if you will need to send out a check every single day or wire, we're able to account for that with you and make that process a little bit easier.
Love it.
Um, John, one of the next questions that was asked was, how does this method factor in additional fees that you don't normally see? So renovations, property management, fix ups,
Mhm.
things like that that will come up in a property's lifespan.
Absolutely. So, in terms of like management costs and stuff like that, all that's been taken into consideration prior to all of these final numbers being run. So that's built in. The other consideration I think that most people want to think about or talk about is, maintenance and vacancy, right? Those are basically two guarantees that we have outside of, um, death and taxes when it comes to owning real estate. So with maintenance and vacancy, the way that we look at that and we measure that across all of our portfolio, all of our investors who own rental properties, what is that average maintenance and vacancy? So we have the ability to understand it better. And what we see is right around 5% annually for each, meaning we have a 5% cost for maintenance and a 5% cost for vacancy. So what is 5% of what? So 5% of gross annual rents, right? So if your property produces $10,000 a year in gross annual rents, that means on average $500 of that is going to go to maintenance and $500 of that is going to go to vacancy. Now what really happens is you don't spend that $500 every year, right? It's like nothing, nothing, nothing. The property goes vacant. there's all that money. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The property goes vacant. There's all that money. That's normally how it works out, especially when you're purchasing a fully renovated property. And how do we handle it? So that was a long story to get to this point. Is when we are evaluating how many properties you're going to purchase, we're going to make recommendations on reserves that you keep in the account, right? So, let's say you have, $300,000 in your retirement account. We're going to make sure that we're only spending, $275,000 of that, right? So that leaves $25,000 around for any potential maintenance or vacancy that we run into. You shouldn't experience any of those costs really for several years, right out of the gate, but that's how we manage it.
Very nice, John. Um, Moving on to the next question here. It's from Stacy. I think she's been asking a couple questions like this. So Stacy says, I'm in a group like this, and it's a 5-year commitment. It's operated at a loss for 3 years now. So
Yeah.
how does that operate differently from maybe you guys?
This isn't a group. This isn't, a fund. This isn't a REIT. This isn't any of that. Personally, I don't believe in that whatsoever. I think that if you really want to be financially independent, you need to own your investments. These are your properties. You own them individually. You can sell them. You can move into them. Well, not if they're in your retirement account, but you can sell them. You can change management companies. You can do whatever you want. They are your properties. Okay. So we are not here investing in a fund and then, oh shit, the fund isn't doing well. So you're not getting paid out. Right. And again, that's why we try to buy several investments, right? Because there is a day where a resident's going to have a life event and not pay the mortgage. And we have to understand that and we have to prepare for that. But that's why we have 9 other investments, right? So we know that they're going to perform to make up for that one that isn't. So this isn't a group investment. This is an individual investment. These properties will be yours and they will cash flow for you.
Very nice. And then for those of you kind of maybe wondering on the back of your mind, so if you do this inside of a self-directed account, say you reach retirement age and you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to get these properties in and out of your retirement, you can actually distribute a property as an asset to yourself.
Yep.
So that qualifies for a required minimum distribution. So that'll allow you to take that property and now collect that money for yourself. And if you've started this early enough, I'm about to turn 30 this year. So if I do this now up until my retirement age and I want to take a property out in retirement age or before then, I can then start using that money for myself to live my life. So this is just something else that you can consider and the versatility within self-directing.
Yeah.
Um,
And on that, if I can just jump in real quick,
yeah,
require our RMDs, right? Required minimum distributions, right? Some people worry about that, but in most cases, I've yet to run in a situation where a property or properties don't produce enough income to not meet the required minimum distributions, even if they are financed. So we've pretty much solved that as well too.
ooh, very nice.
Because when you're getting near that age, you're thinking about your RMDs, so you're planning for it.
Yeah,
Yep, for sure.
yeah. So that's definitely a good thing. John, can we do this without being an accredited investor?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Again, this isn't like a accredited investment, right? We're just helping you buy rental properties, right? Like if you picked up the phone and called a real estate agent and went to walk a house and decided to make an offer and did the renovations yourself and found your property man, the same concept, except it's just all done for you. So you don't need to be an accredited investor. There is not a fund where we're pulling your money or anything like that. This is just you buying rental properties that are cash flowing and done for you.
Yeah, awesome. And then another question, this was from Heather as well, was I thought I couldn't buy personal property with my solo K. So Heather, with that, you can't necessarily buy property that you yourself are going to live in. You can
Correct.
buy properties in your retirement account that other people live in. It just can't be any disqualified parties. So you can't have your parents living in the home. You can't have your children living in the home, or grandchildren, depending on where you are in the age bracket. But properties, rental properties are perfectly fine. Kelsey and I are not related. So if I bought a home with my self-directed account and I trust Kelsey and I know she's going to pay me the rent on time every month, she could live in the house and my retirement account is going to be growing. So that's going to be another great value. Um, So right here, before we do wrap up, it is almost 11, and I want to respect everyone's time. And John, I want to thank you first of all for being on here with us today. This was very insightful. So thank you again for jumping on this morning with us. It was really appreciated by all of us here. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It's been a pleasure, and I see there's a boatload of other questions rolling in, guys. Myself, Nate, Danica, we all, know this business and this process inside and out. So I just dropped the link again to schedule a call. If you guys want, just schedule a call up with one of us, and we will have the ability to jump in and answer those questions for you and see if this is kind of the investment that you're going down and help you do that planning and preparation.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And our team has dropped our link as well. So if you haven't started your self-directed account and you're looking about how to make this process go smooth with John and his team and using your retirement funds from an old IRA, 401k, 403b, TSP, whatever the case is, schedule a call with our team as well. We can do that one-on-one consultation as well and get you connected with John and his team as well. So that way, once your funds are here and they're ready to go, John and his team will be able to facilitate. And maybe you've already done your introduction call with John and his team. So that way, once your funds are here, you're ready to go and ready to start investing right out the gate. So that'll be very beneficial. One of the things here that we did want to mention for those of you, you were asking about non-recourse lenders. We do have our information available on our website on our investment corner. We do have non-recourse lenders on our investment corner. I'm sure John and his team have them as well. So he'll be able to
We
assist
probably
you.
use the same ones.
We probably do use the same ones, actually.
There's only so many out there.
Exactly, yeah. But they are available. So if you want, our investment corner is exclusive to clients, so it is password protected. If you do not have that password, go ahead and shoot an email to our team. You can do so via operations@horizontrust.com. Our team is dropping that link into the chat right now. And additionally, if you're looking for people to partner with, we have our Facebook group. It's our Horizon Trust Hot Topic Corner Facebook group, where it has clients who are networking and providing opportunities for one another. Recently, we saw someone put real estate opportunity on the Facebook group and had a whole pretty much event link so that they could learn about the webinar. So if you are an existing client, that is another access and another tool that you can utilize to network and connect with other individuals. So it's going to be a great opportunity for those of you who are interested in growing your retirement account and maybe don't have the 70K lying around to get started, but are looking to get started with someone that you can grow to trust and partner with.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kelsey, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate having you.
Of course, I was just here. Just been most of the talking for us.
I know John really took the show. So we'll have the replay available for everyone this afternoon. It'll be on YouTube. The link was dropped in the chat, but just be on the lookout for that. You can go to YouTube and just search Greg Herlean, and that replay will be available this afternoon. John, thank you again. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and wish Nate congratulations again on the twins. I know we'll be in contact with him.
I will certainly let him know. He's supposed to be here, but he's on dad duty right now, which I could totally appreciate.
Listen, that's completely understandable.
Change diapers or do a webinar. I mean, change diapers, obviously.
Listen, this early on, it's changed diapers. The webinar will come in like a couple months once the diapers settle down.
Absolutely. And guys, again, if you have any questions, like Roger, I see you dropping some questions in here, just set up a call. It's completely free. First call is usually 30 to 45 minutes. It's an awesome time just to get all your very specific one-on-one calls answered. Set it up, and we'd be happy to support you guys any way we can. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Later.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. There's lots more great content for you to learn and enjoy and apply to. And so anyways, click on the link below and listen to more videos or set an appointment with us. We look forward to hearing from you and also helping you.